Perhaps this is the greatest mystery of our days. The circles in the fields are strange patterns formed by bent ears of wheat, oats, and barley that appear in the silent landscape. These mysterious symbols emerge at night, silently and without witnesses. All the evidence we have points to the fact that the circles are formed in a matter of seconds, somewhere around 4 o'clock in the morning. The scientific community is also striving to unravel this mystery. Only a few of these circles are created by human hands, probably less than 1%. Some suggest that it could be someone's prank, or the result of the influence of stars, or even gravity. For some, it resembles the entrance to a cathedral, a kind of spiritual center. But who or what actually created these circles? When people learn of your interest in the circles in the fields, they invariably ask the question, what is it, and who made them? It is impossible to answer this question. It is the greatest mystery. Who creates the circles in the fields? In search of an answer, researchers study the circles, starting from America and ending with the silent Stonehenge. Pilot Kevin Bond is performing his usual flight in a crop-dusting plane over the wheat fields of farmer Randy Batt in North Dakota. However, several years ago, this routine flight led Kevin to a discovery that forever changed the life of the small town of Langdon. In home video footage taken from the plane, enormous circles can be seen, as if engraved on the fields. Kevin makes another pass to be sure as the July sun shines too brightly. Before his eyes, a strange pattern appears, measuring in tens of meters in diameter. We were puzzled until we realized what it was, he recalls. Then we were astonished that it was right here. The circles in the fields, measuring 2/3 the size of a football field, represent an incomprehensible design of 4 circles and parallel lines, resembling the shape of the letter F. Some consider it a gigantic toy, while others fear it is a sign of threat. Kevin, being the first to see the circles in Langdon, returned home, but even his father did not believe his story. I am a crop duster pilot, and I said that mice or deer were lying in the fields, leaving circles. But he said they were not made by animals, it was something else, he shares. I took the plane and flew, and oh my God, I couldn't believe it. Kevin reported the circles to the local sheriff, and soon it became clear that something strange had happened in Langdon. Randy Batt's family had owned these fields for more than 100 years when the circles appeared. I was astonished. I did not know what to think. Was it a prank or not? I still do not know, he admits. The first thing I thought was that it was too perfect, not like a hoax. I mean the shape, the diagram, it was unique. Hardly anyone could have thought of and created this in the dark. The population of Langdon is about 2,500 people. In such a small town, when someone does something, it quickly becomes known to everyone. The police believed from the very beginning that it was a prank. They even contacted the media in Grand Forks and asked them not to come, stating that it was a charlatanism. I think they did it so that all the UFO enthusiasts would not come, says Kevin. People who want to encounter something unidentified. Nevertheless, no one in this town near the Canadian border said anything, even when another circle appeared a few kilometers away. This circle, with a diameter of 27 meters, leads to a smaller circle. This is already the second circle in 4 days. The pattern formed by the clay is 47 meters. Farmer Bob Uleth was frightened to see these formations among his wheat. Stepping back, he was able to make out the unexpected figures. It seemed to me that it was a prank. But when I went in there, I realized that it would take a lot of effort to do this, he recounts. It was an elliptical-shaped circle, perfect. All the wheat seemed to be woven in. It was, well, whoever made the circles spent quite a bit of effort. Obviously, it took a lot of time. In the summer in North Dakota, the nights are short, and working by moonlight can be challenging. Reef insisted that we needed to find tracks, as the ground was loose. We noticed that, walking through the field, both of us left our tracks. However, there were no other tracks. When crop circle researcher Stasel learned about the circles in North Dakota, she drove 600 kilometers from Denver to Langdon. Something about the Langdon circles attracted me, and knowing that researching crop circles was worth it, I rented a car and drove 17 hours. I crossed the border and found myself right in the circle. It was unforgettable. I had no doubts that the circles were real. It was genius. They were not created by people. Farmer Bob Uleth did not believe in the supernatural until the circles appeared on his land. But now, as the situation had gone this far, the search for an explanation filled him with fear. With the appearance of the circles, I had a dream. A dream that I was aboard a spaceship flying at great speed. Everything around was pale red, because that is how it looked. I intuitively felt that I was traveling on this ship. The strangeness continued when new circles in the fields were found, but not their creator. It was inexplicable that hardly anyone would be able to know his name. Everyone claimed to know who did it, but they never named the name. What struck the serious farmers was that all three formations, seen from the air, lined up in a single line. How could pranksters, working between roads and fields, create circles that were kilometers apart, like points on a line, as if the circles were positioned intentionally? This makes one wonder if the circles in the fields are a sign. I think I was struck by these circles, their inhuman nature. It was something that seemed supernatural, one could say, the work of inhuman hands. Wherever they appear, the circles in the fields cause concern all over the world. They are created secretly, at night. Those who find them can only wonder if there is any message contained in these strange patterns. The basic shape of the circles is spiral or round, as the name suggests. Sometimes the ears of grain are bent counterclockwise, sometimes they have a star shape, or all together. At first, the circles in the fields may seem simple, but upon closer inspection, they contain geometry. The flat two-dimensional representation is actually a three-dimensional cube, and this triangular shape depicts 6 hidden cubes. A snowflake contains precise mathematical curves. The golden mean, the classical proportion found in nature, is present in many circles. Just think of how many human resources are required to execute this so precisely without a single mistake over a distance of 200 kilometers. I think this makes such a theory absurd. What started with simple circles turned out to be much more complex. An eclipse is moving in this area. The sun rises here. This grim human face appeared near the observatory in England. At the same time, an unusual rectangular formation with a DNA sequence in human shapes appeared in the same place. Some say that this could be some supernatural force or intelligence. Aliens, if you will, are trying to establish contact with Earth. Every new circle opens up new opportunities for interpretation and exploration. Farmers in North Dakota are not the only ones who have encountered circles in the fields. They appear quite frequently in southern England, as well as in Canada, Russia, in rice paddies in Japan, and in fields across the entire territory of the United States. But perhaps they trace their origins back to one of the greatest wonders of the world, Stonehenge. Next, we will learn whether this stone circle, which is already 4,000 years old, is the key to the modern mystery of the circles in the fields. Scientists are making an astonishing discovery right in the wheat. Stonehenge, southern England. The sun rises and sets over Stonehenge, a prehistoric monument that has existed for about 5,000 years. The meaning of this ancient stone circle remains unsolved, but now new friends have joined the contemplative old stones, the circles in the fields. It is estimated that 90% of the circles appear within a radius of 60 kilometers from Stonehenge, located in Wiltshire County, where the oldest sacred sites of Great Britain are concentrated. Jude Stammers, a master of astrophysics at the University of Oxford, is investigating these mysterious places. In her doctoral dissertation on cognitive archaeology, She attempts to understand how sacred sites were created in ancient times and how modern circles in the fields are perceived as sacred places. She notes that circles, like temporary temples, appear next to permanent tombs. One such place is the strange and majestic site of Burrow Hill, an ancient tomb built during the time of the pyramids. It is also worth mentioning the mystery of Stonehenge and the mysterious stone circle of Avebury, which is already 4,500 years old. This is one of the largest stone circles on Earth, where enormous blocks were transported from afar by unknown ancients to create this enigmatic site. Archaeologists suggest that originally there were 99 massive sandstone boulders here. Inside this enormous circle were two additional inner circles, each with a diameter of about 90 meters. The stones weighing 40 tons likely served as landmarks or calendars. It is believed that sacred worship ceremonies were held here for centuries, but no one knows what compelled the ancients to construct these monumental circles in this tiny corner of England. Every year, thousands of visitors fill Wiltshire in search of the key to the ancient mystery of the stone circles. In the neighboring fields, another mystery awaits an answer. Is there a connection between the circles in the fields and the stone circles? Jude Stammers believes that such a connection exists. She suggests that the ancients intentionally created sacred sites, understanding the interconnection of their energies with the location in the universe. Stammers feels that the circles help people to once again become aware of this connection. It is known that numerous circles in the fields appeared near the prehistoric Stonehenge, sometimes one, sometimes two in a night, up to 200 in one summer. Some of them incorporate ancient monuments into their design, with a mysterious burial mound becoming their center. These circles frighten tourists heading towards Stonehenge. Writer and researcher Andy Thomas, who has been keeping his own chronicle for many years, notes that even without considering the circles, there is something magical in this area. He emphasizes that something here attracts, and the circles appear again and again. Colin Andrews, a well-known researcher of the circles, grew up near Stonehenge and is convinced that the circles are not here by chance. He points to the layout and construction of archaeological sites, such as Stonehenge, Avebury, and Silbury Hill, noting that they share similar designs with the circles appearing nearby. Andrews speaks of similar proportions and mathematical relationships that may provide a key to the mystery. Some researchers wonder why there are more circles in some locations. One possible answer is geology. When examining the layers of rock where the circles form, it becomes evident that this is related to underground waters. Some believe that energy fields pass through this part of South England, a barely discernible energy grid associated with the Earth's electromagnetic fields. These lines of energy, known to the ancients, are directly linked to the electromagnetism emanating from the sun and affecting its activity. Interestingly, most churches and sacred sites in England, including the stone circles of Avebury, are connected by a single line. This phenomenon of a unified line was first noticed by a businessman in 1925, who suggested that this line follows a prehistoric trade route, although there is no evidence for this. Some researchers propose that the mysterious circles in the fields may reflect the annual path of the sun or represent an ancient compass created by Chinese masters. The appearance of the first circles in the fields around these lines was noted 300 years ago. Then, as now, there were both scientific explanations and superstitions. In 1678, according to a pamphlet printed in Hertfordshire, it was claimed that the devil himself carved these circles in the fields. Lucifer, according to legend, stepped onto the fields after a farmer hired a man to harvest the crops. Despite the protests of the people, the farmer swore that he would give the harvest to the devil, thereby paying the reaper. That night, a strange orange light illuminated the fields, and it is said that the devil mowed the harvest. Another woodcut from the ancient book Ballads depicts strange harvest festivities where peasants danced, possibly in these circles, following some horned creature. In 1686, Professor Robert Plot of Oxford University linked a similar story to the circles in the fields. It was said that in 1590, men and women with hooves were seen dancing in a field with a spirit in the middle. This spirit, known as Robin Goodfellow, represented a mythical figure like a goblin, leading good townsfolk astray. However, Professor Plot was not satisfied with such explanations. Ultimately, he concluded that some circles were caused by lightning. In 1880, unknown forces emerged again when an amateur scientist developed a new theory about the strange circles in his neighbor's field. In an article published in the journal Nature, the writer suggested that the circles could have been caused by strong winds. But none of these explanations proved sufficient. The circles remained a mystery until the advent of observing pilots in the 20th century. In 1938, engineer Colin Andrews closely examined the wheat fields near Stonehenge. He discovered a composition of 5 circles forming a cross, with a large circle about 20 meters in diameter at the center. It was impressive. Andrews immediately realized that the shape was very precise and could not have been created by chance. However the circles appeared, they depicted an unusual pattern. Perhaps this place seemed sacred to him because of the cross that seemed to be imprinted in the wheat field. The third formation, consisting of 1 central cross and 4 companions around it, depicted a Celtic cross in rings. Andrews suspected that someone had designed it, but upon closer inspection he found no traces other than his own. Even more strangely, the wheat ears were not broken, as they would be when someone steps on them. Instead, they were bent at a perfect angle, as if by some force. Although the plants lay on the ground, there were no signs that this occurred under the pressure of weight. This astonished Andrews. He could not believe his eyes. Together with Pat Delgado from the National Aeronautics and Space Administration and pilot Bass Taylor, Andrews began taking aerial photographs of the circles. In 1989, they studied hundreds of formations. Everyone knew that the circles in the fields appeared at night, but farmers did not notice anything unusual in their fields. However, glowing unidentified flying objects were spotted near the circles. In 1990, photographer Stephen Alexander unexpectedly captured this glow on film. He asks, "Do you see?" and receives an affirmative response. This sphere of light was filmed from a great distance. Then, in 1999, a clearer image was taken over the circle at Berbrough Castle in England. "I can't see what it is," says one of the observers. "Do you see how it moves away?" While Don Fletcher tries to set up the camera, a white sphere of light hovers over the formation in the field. The people present there seem not to notice it, but it is clearly visible on film. Then, the glowing sphere begins to quickly ascend into the sky and disappears from view. "I can't find it anymore," says one of the witnesses. "It is impossible to provide a comprehensive explanation for this phenomenon." They move purposefully toward the circles in the fields, as if wanting to know what is happening there. This is not just a child's balloon carried away on a windy day. It seems that someone or something is controlling this object. Spheres of light are often observed in fields where there are currently no circles. Nancy Talbot, a scientist from Boston, shares her experience. "I have seen spheres of light myself. When these lights appear at night, as is often the case in England, people go outside in hopes of seeing where the circles come from. These orange spheres, the size of a soccer ball and resembling oranges, have been nicknamed amber players by locals due to their color." Unable to unravel the mystery of the spheres of light, the researchers of the circles in the fields began to search for other clues. They used aerial photography, precise measurements, and even electromagnetic voltmeters. Some visitors to the circles noted strange phenomena. Batteries drained, video cameras malfunctioned, and the compass needle spun wildly. While inside the circles, people sometimes experienced satisfaction and even euphoria, while others complained of headaches and agitation. In 1989, Colin Andrews and Pat Delgado published their findings in a book titled The Facts About Crop Circles, which became a real sensation. Queen Elizabeth included it in her summer reading list, and Prince Charles requested a private tour when circles were discovered on his property. The interest of the royal family attracted the attention of British newspapers, one of which offered £10,000 as a reward to anyone who could prove how these circles were created. Speculations grew. Was it a landed spaceship that left its marks on the field? Or aliens who arrived at night to create the circles? If so, what message did they want to convey? What do these strange circles and symbols mean? This is definitely something that is not far from Earth. Andrews pondered the connection of the circles to the military base located near the epicenter of their appearance. Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher requested a weekly report. In 1990, an operation called Blackbirds was conducted on British Army territory to investigate the circles in the fields. Equipment worth more than $1 million, funded by the BBC and Japanese television, was installed in the fields where circles frequently appeared. Cameras operated around the clock. "We saw the lights that were talked about in the morning, but we couldn't say much," recalls one of the participants. Then the analysis of the collected information began. 10 days of observation and waiting passed, but no convincing evidence was found. "Maybe someone is laughing at us right now. Maybe young farmers came out of the pubs and went into the fields with lawnmowers," wonders another researcher. "This cannot be. Pat Delgado and I have been observing for 10 years. We have convincing evidence, one way or another. This is not a joke." However, according to Colin Andrews, the Ministry of Defense of the United Kingdom prohibited live television broadcasts. The ministry refused to comment on his words. After the Blackbirds operation, researchers still did not come closer to explaining the mysterious circles in the fields. Traces and suspects remained absent, while the circles continued to appear. Farmers did not know how they appeared and enhanced their security system by hiring people to watch over the land. "We have our waiting observers, but we have not seen anyone making these circles." Strange figures then appeared in the story, moving across the field in the dark. Scientists also suggested that the circles might indicate a strange occurrence above the Earth. The circles had been appearing for hundreds of years all over the world, puzzling both scientists and ordinary observers. Throughout all this time, no one had seen how they formed, and no one knew who created them, a human or something else. In 1991, two pensioners from Hampshire, Doug Bowers and Dave Chorley, shocked the public by claiming that for the last 12 years they had secretly been creating crop circles. However, they had no evidence other than a wooden board, rope, and sketches on paper. The idea of creating crop circles came to a group of pranksters in Pabby. They decided to play a trick on enthusiasts of mysteries related to extraterrestrial beings, and in some sense, they succeeded. Their goal was to make these enthusiasts believe that aliens had landed. For several years, many were unable to decide whether to believe this or not. Doug Bowers, one of those inspired by this idea, claims that he was inspired by a circle that appeared in 1966 in Tully and in Australia. According to a witness, the remaining traces in the reeds were from a landed flying saucer. This formation has yet to be explained. However, Bowers' idea to create a fake phenomenon was successfully implemented in England. Sometimes in life, there are moments when one wants to play a prank on someone without causing harm. In the mid-90s, Doug and Dave announced that they were done with creating circles, but the circles continued to appear. Now this idea has been picked up by a new generation. Circle makers from London share their methods. Previously, they would draw circles on paper with a compass and pen, but now they work with a computer. The problem lies not only in creating a beautiful pattern, but also in making it over a large area of the field without leaving traces of their presence. They use a wooden board 120 centimeters long and rope. The board goes under their feet and they move forward, flattening the wheat. They also use a device resembling a land surveyor, which can be used as a compass when they work together. Circle makers John Lundberg and Rod Dickinson demonstrated their work in the pre-dawn light but insist that the real work is done at night. Despite the fact that their activities have been filmed, they have never been caught in the act. If a threat arises, and they feel that someone might notice them, they pack up their equipment and leave the site. Nevertheless, John Lundberg does not admit which specific circles he has made. He believes that if everything about the circle is known, it kills its mystery. For the circle makers, this is what is important. The acknowledgement of their deception has disillusioned some researchers, but many still believe that the night work of a few enthusiasts is not enough to create hundreds of circles in a single summer. How could a team of 2 people have made so many circles around the world? And how can one ignore the scientific evidence that something unusual is happening in the fields? Esteemed American biophysicist William Levengood from the University of Michigan studied photographs of flattened wheat and oats presented in the book Facts About Crop Circles, and he wanted to learn more. He wondered what happens inside the plants when circles form in the fields. If some unknown force can bend plants in a matter of seconds, does it alter their cellular structure? Levengood began to study the wheat ears found within the circles. At first glance, the plants looked the same, but then the scientists discovered that the seeds inside were missing. The wheat ears in the circle stopped producing seeds at the same stage of development but continued to grow. This discovery intrigued him. Over the course of 10 years, Levengood studied more than 200 circles and formulated an astonishing theory explaining their appearance. He hypothesized that the circles are created by an energy source unknown to humanity. It is believed that this source forms like a tornado high above the earth, but not an ordinary tornado, rather an electrically charged plasma vortex. The energy of this vortex coming from the ionosphere accelerates like a huge donut, sometimes for many kilometers. As it descends through the ionosphere and approaches the Earth, it is shaped by the planet's magnetic field. These formations possess a complex structure made up of organic energy. Melted particles of iron oxide found in the area of the circles indicate that they have been subjected to bursts of high-frequency waves. Some plants have strange holes known as expelled depressions, which look as if they have cracked after a powerful explosion of energy. Researcher Nancy Talbot shares her observations. I think there were 5 circles of grown rye in Indiana 2 years ago. Now we have found something new. These are expelled depressions, holes that formed from the nodes of the grown rye. It took an enormous amount of energy. Levengood, a researcher of anomalous phenomena, believes that 7 different energy forces collectively created these vortices and circles in the fields. From his perspective, this explains how such precise circles can appear in just a matter of seconds. Many people do not realize that chaotic processes can lead to the emergence of such geometric patterns. It seems unimaginable, but these drawings emerge from chaos as they are so well structured. But that is exactly how it happens, he asserts. In the scientific world, this phenomenon is currently being studied in detail. Some universities have attempted to investigate this data, wishing to publish their findings, but some feared that such work could damage their reputations. Field researchers believe that the Levengood vortices are a sign of an expanding human consciousness. Perhaps mental energy manifests in the natural world just like circles in the fields, says one of them. I feel that this phenomenon is a harbinger of significant changes in human consciousness. It is a message, and we must focus our attention on it. The mysteries of crop circles have attracted many scientists, including the former chair of the astronomy department in Boston, Gerald Hawkins. Initially, he doubted that the circles were the work of hoaxers, but his discovery turned out to be astonishing. In a scientific news journal, he claimed that based on the patterns of the circles, he developed a new theorem the fifth post-Euclidean theorem, which cannot be found in textbooks. With the help of perfectly precise circles, I have discovered new geometric truths, he says. Although the mechanics of these formations remain a mystery, the intellectual profile of their creator is becoming clearer. Whoever is making these circles is an experienced mathematician. Hawkins also notes that the circles resemble music. Diatonic relationships, the intervals between the white keys of a piano, the sequence of do-re-mi, these sound vibrations can be translated into formulas and relationships, then recorded in the fields. One could say that you see music in the fields. It is fair to say that when you listen to the music of the crop circles, you reproduce what you see. But this music is not for the ears. It is not something to listen to over dinner. It is somewhat eerie. Hawkins believes that the combination of geometry, mathematics, and musical elements proves that the crop circles are much more than just a natural phenomenon. But even for him, the identity of the creator, whether human or not, remains a mystery. Even the London circle makers, being extreme skeptics, admit that they do not know all the answers. John Lundberg, one of them, shares his experience. I have seen balls of light above the fields. We saw flashes of light, spheres moving along the circles. I know that on one occasion, I and 3 other circle makers saw something like a diamond-shaped figure in the sky with 2 flashes on its sides. This, of course, could have been military personnel on the plane with Salisbury, where many military tests are conducted. But there were no sounds. It sparkled in the sky like typical UFOs. Although he assures that many circles of his work, he also acknowledges that some formations could have been created by non-humans. I cannot say that every circle is made by human hands. This is something to ask researchers about. Next, the first circle in the field of this year is examined, but even the biologist is afraid to step inside. Every spring, circle watchers wait. Will the strange and intricate circles return to the fields? This year, the answer comes in the middle of April, when the first circle of the season appears at night in Hampshire as if out of nowhere. Aerial photos travel across the internet for hours, showing a simple circular formation in a field of bright yellow canola with 2 dots on one side. The investigation of the mysterious circles in the fields led a group of researchers, including Lucy Pringle, to farmer Stephen Horn, who agreed to show them his land. "Hello, are you Mr. Horn?" Lucy introduced herself. "I am Lucy Pringle." "Very nice to meet you, Stephen," the farmer replied. "May I ask you to allow me to look at the large intersection, since this is your property, right?" she clarified. "Yes, of course. Go ahead, take a look," Horn agreed, adding, "Thank you, you are very kind." The farmer, who has spent his entire life in these places, was astonished when he discovered a circle in his field. "I have lived here my whole life, but I have never seen anything like this either here or on other farms," he confessed. Once, he noticed a circle in a neighbor's field, and since then, the fear of the unknown origin of the circles has become his constant companion. "I went in. I was with an agronomist who was looking after the fields," Horn recalled. But he preferred not to go in there. The plant expert was afraid that residual electromagnetic energy could harm him or his equipment. With the owner's permission, Lucy and 2 other researchers, Paul Weige and Christopher Vicks, headed to the site. "You are driving down the road and see the circle when you turn at the intersection." "Do you see?" Lucy asked, pointing to the mysterious object. The researchers, who had studied hundreds of similar circles, began checking for any unusual electromagnetic energies. "This is an electromagnetic detector. It will react. It will not just fluctuate, it will jump up to 300%, Paul explained. They examined the plants to determine whether the stems were broken or gently bent, as if by steam. "They are very sensitive. It is enough just to touch them, and a mark is already left," added Christopher. In some cases, the stems were perfectly bent without any damage. The researchers concluded that it was already too late to determine how this circle was formed. Those who got ahead of them have already managed to damage it, noted Paul. At first glance, it was difficult to determine what had happened. Among the researchers, there is a common opinion that a powerful natural force shapes the circles, but many believe that behind this strange force lies a higher intelligence, creating the circles either from the Earth or from other places. One thing is beyond doubt. The mystery of the circles remains unsolved, emphasizes Lucy. Were they made by human hands, or is this a message from another world? These patterns continue to amaze and attract attention. Now we are facing a new phase of history. We are looking to the future and hoping that we see it, reflects Lucy. I think this is a serious attempt, possibly unconscious or on the contrary from a higher intelligence, but before us is information about our future. They are here to stir humanity, she adds. They are here to ask questions, but not to answer them. They push us to find the answers within ourselves. Perhaps. Only in this lies their mission. Who knows what this will teach us, concludes Lucy, emphasizing that the interest in these circles remains alive. The world we live in is much broader than we can imagine. It is a special feeling. I think that is the main thing. The mystery remains.